So this is the video I was looking for, right? Fani Willis. Some people call her brave, say she's one of the bravest. Other ones say she's the most hated right now. You know what I mean? So pick your side. But anyway, this video here is where she, the Fulton County District Attorney, Fani Willis, speaks after the Trump election case indictment is unsealed. Let's hear what she has to say.
Thank you for joining us. I'm here with the prosecutors and investigators who have worked diligently on the investigation of criminal attempts to interfere in the administration of Georgia's 2020 presidential election. Today, based on information developed by that investigation, a Fulton County grand jury returned a true bill of indictment, charging 19 individuals with violations of Georgia law arising from a criminal conspiracy to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in this state. The indictment includes 41 felony counts and is 97 pages long. Please remember that everyone charged in this bill of indictment is presumed innocent. Specifically, the indictment brings felony charges against Donald John Trump, Rudolph William Louis Giuliani, John Charles Eastman, Mark Randall Meadows, John Cheeseborough, Jeffrey Clark, Jenna Lynn Ellis, Ray Stallings Smith III, Robert David Cheeley, Michael A. Roman, David James Schaefer, Sean Micah Tresher Steele, Stephen Cliffgard Lee, Harrison William Prescott Floyd, Travion C. Cootie, Sydney Catherine Powell, Kathleen Austin Latham, Scott Graham Hall, and Misty Hampton, also known as Emily Misty Hayes. Every individual charged in the indictment is charged with one count of violating Georgia's Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act through participation in a criminal enterprise in Fulton County, Georgia, and elsewhere to accomplish the illegal goal of allowing Donald J. Trump to seize the presidential term of office beginning on January 20th, 21.
Now this is her specialty, right? Because it's got to be because this is the same lady. Am I correct that went after the rappers, right? Young Thug, Wife, and Lucci. She's been handing out these RICO cases like to the point to where, like I'm saying now, if this is the same lady I'm thinking of, then this is her specialty, bro. So this is real.
Specifically, the participants in association took various actions in Georgia and elsewhere to block the counting of the votes of the presidential electors who were certified as the winners of Georgia's 2020 general election. As you examine the indictment, you will see acts that are identified as overt acts and those that are identified as predicate acts, sometimes called acts of racketeering activity. Overt acts are not necessarily crimes under Georgia law in isolation, but are alleged to be acts taken in furtherance of the conspiracy. Many occurred in Georgia, and some occurred in other jurisdictions and are included because the grand jury believes they were part of the illegal effort to overturn the results of Georgia's 2020 presidential election.
Sheesh.
The acts identified as predicate acts or acts of racketeering activity are crimes that are alleged to have been committed in furtherance of the criminal enterprise.
Now remember, yesterday we made reference to the mob. Listening to this, does this not remind you of that? When they were going at these mob bosses and stuff and using the RICO charges, those charges coming out, being read out, sounded exactly like this. So it's just mind-boggling and blowing to me to hear these politicians, and we know there's been corrupt politicians for years, but just to see how this is playing out puts you in the mind of the mob, man.
Acts of racketeering activity are also charged as separate counts in the indictment against those who are alleged to have committed them. All elections in our nation are administered by the states, which are given the responsibility of ensuring a fair process and an accurate counting of the votes. That includes elections for presidential electors, Congress, state officials, and local offices. The state's role in this process is essential to the functioning of our democracy. Georgia, like every state, has laws that allow those who believe that results of an election are wrong, whether because of intentional wrongdoing or unintentional error, to challenge those results in our state courts. The indictment alleges that rather than abide by Georgia's legal process for election challenges, the defendants engaged in a criminal racketeering enterprise to overturn Georgia's presidential election result. Subsequent to the indictment, as is the normal process in Georgia law, the grand jury issued arrest warrants for those who are charged. I am giving the defendants the opportunity to voluntarily surrender no later than noon on Friday, the 25th day of August, 2023. I remind everyone here that an indictment is only...
Now, I know there's a lot of people yelling at the screen who's had charges and different things like that saying, man, I was never afforded that luxury. I get it. I hear it all the time. I hear from people while this whole thing is playing out. It's like, man, how do they just continuously get to walk around, or how they get to do this? I get it. I get your frustration.
Only a series of allegations based on a grand jury's determination of probable cause to support the charges. It is now the duty of my office to prove these charges in the indictment beyond a reasonable doubt at trial. I would like to take a moment to thank the Superior Court Clerk, Shay Alexander, and her staff for staying late and making sure that this indictment was processed. I would also like to thank the men and women of Sheriff Labatt's office for keeping the courthouse open, but most importantly for keeping us safe over the weeks and months that have led up to this indictment, and for what I know they will continue to do to keep us safe.
Let's stop right there. Right. Listen, man, I've been hearing it, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to come across a video, man, where the threats and stuff and different things, the slander, the calling of names or out her name or this, that, and the third, because you don't feel like this is right, and you have the right to have that opinion, man. But going a step beyond that, putting this woman's life in danger, we don't need to see that, and we don't need that to happen. And I know I shouldn't have to say that, but she's doing her job, whether you agree or disagree. That's, you know what I'm saying? That's just like at your job or any place like that. If you disagree, that does not give you the right to disrespect, to dehumanize, to wrong, to slander, to any type of thing to wrong do this woman, man. Please, let's not. And I know people are going to be in the comment section saying it's already happening. You know what I mean? Nobody's not telling you not to have your opinion. And if you dislike what she's doing, then cool, voice your opinion. But let it stay at that, man. This woman's family, her all of that type of stuff like that should not be attacked, bro. And it's sad because you already see it coming. It's just like a storm brewing out there, and it could be already here, and I just ain't got to it yet. But man, I don't want to see it. And I hate that I have to say that.
We also want to thank the Atlanta Police Department and other law enforcement partners who have worked with the sheriff to keep us safe. I will now take a very limited number of questions prior to going to sleep.
Prior to going to sleep.
I'll go first.
Madam District Attorney.
If you don't mind, Surveil Levins with 11 Alive. Quick question: can you clarify in Georgia the mandatory minimum when it comes to RICO charges, whether it's servable by probation or how that might play out?
The RICO charges has time that you have to serve, so it's not a probated sentence.
Madam District Attorney, what's the timetable for your trial?
What is the timetable for the trial? As you know, in this jurisdiction, trials are set by the judges. And so it will be the judge that sets the date of the trial. This office will be submitting a proposed scheduling order within this week. However, that will totally be at the discretion of the judge.
You're the fourth person, the fourth jurisdiction now to indict Donald Trump. Do you believe you need to be the fourth one to try him, or could you move it up? Do you want to be the first to try him?
I don't have any desire to be first or last. I want to try him and be respectful for our sovereign states. We do want to move this case along, and so we will be asking for a proposed order that occurs a trial date within the next 6 months.
Have you had any contact?
There was earlier today, there was a fictitious document, according to the Fulton County Clerk's Office, that was circulated online with charges against former President Donald Trump. That fictitious document matched exactly the charges that we now see in this indictment. Can you tell us more about that document leak? Because now you have the former president's lawyers who are saying this is emblematic of a serious problem with your office.
No, I can't tell you anything about what you refer to. What I can tell you is that we had a grand jury here in Fulton County. They deliberated till almost 8 o'clock, if not right after 8 o'clock. An indictment was returned. It was true billed, and you now have an indictment. I am not an expert on clerks' duties or even administrative duties. I wouldn't know how to work that system, and so I'm not going to speculate. Next question.
Well, have you had any contact with the special counsel about overlap between these cases, and do you intend to try all of these defendants together?
Do I intend to try the 19 defendants in this indictment together? Yes.
And have you had any contact with the special counsel about the overlap between this indictment and the federal indictment?
I'm not going to discuss our investigation at this time.
Have there been any conversations?
The argument made by former President Trump that this is a politically motivated indictment.
I make decisions in this office based on the facts and the law. The law is completely nonpartisan. That's how decisions are made in every case. To date, this office has indicted, since I've been sitting as a district attorney, over 12,000 cases. This is the 11th RICO indictment. We followed the same process. We look at the facts, we look at the law, and we bring charges.
Conversations about the terms of surrender.
Will you try this case yourself,
Has
Ms.
the jury
Willis?
been cleared?
Sit down. Sit down.
Donald Trump has now put some of that lying attack language in a television ad that he intends to run for several days in Atlanta. District Attorney Fani Willis sent an email about the attacks on her to her staff today, saying, "It is my understanding that an ad was put in the Atlanta market to run between today and August 13th that will have derogatory and false information about me as the district attorney. You may not comment in any way on the ad or any of the negativity that may be expressed against me, your colleagues, this office, in coming days, weeks, or months. You should feel no need to defend me. I am not concerned with the calls, emails, or ads, and you should not concern yourself with them. Your instruction from me is to ignore all the noise and keep doing your job with excellence." Joining us now is Gwen Keyes Fleming, former district attorney in neighboring DeKalb County, Georgia. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. What Donald Trump is saying about Fani Willis.
I didn't see the campaign, if it ran or if it didn't run. I don't want to see it. Bro, this is just nasty. This is just getting nasty, man. And there's no other way to say it. It's no better word to use. It's just filth, man. Why does it have to be this way? You know what I mean? We're getting so far away from what this is supposed to be about, from the elections to everything. We're so far from it. It's just so vile and filthy and nasty and derogatory, and people just want to just down each other and just, man, this is not what I grew up wanting to see for my country. This is not what I grew up wanting to learn about. This is not what I grew up trying to, emulate or be a part of. This is just ridiculous, bro, and it's disgusting.
We have never in American history heard a potential criminal defendant say about a potential prosecutor that defendant might be facing. Knowing your friend Fani Willis as you do, what can you tell us about what she might be feeling that was not expressed in her email to staff?
Well, I think let's remember, all of us are humans. And while she is no doubt focused on going forward with this case, focused on our evidence, focused on the facts, applying those facts to the law, I can't imagine that it's not affecting her in some way.
It is. But she held her head high, and she conducted herself the right way. She gave the correct response to her staff and to her colleagues and to people about everything that could be forthcoming. She did everything the right way, but we, like she said, we're all human. So we know that it's affecting her. It would affect me. It would affect you. You know what I'm saying? Because the way people know, they know you're strong. So how do they get to you? They'll start trying to attack your family, your loved ones, the ones closest to you, the ones who have nothing to do with this, the kids, the spouse, the parents. All of them will be attacked. And I'm pretty sure when kids go to school, kids hear their parents talk about her in a certain way. So when their kids go to school, they start attacking their kids or talking about their kids. If she has kids in school, like, this thing will get messy. For what reason, bro?
But like most of us, when confronted with challenges, when we know we have a tough job to do, we may have our private moments, but when it's time to step up and do the job, we do it. And so her email to the staff is reflective of her recognizing the importance of remaining professional in the moment, remaining committed to the task at hand, not being intimidated, and ensuring that she is following not only her oath as a prosecutor, but also her ethics as a lawyer. And so regardless of how this may be affecting her personally, she has clearly said her decisions in this matter are not personal. They are based on the facts. They are based on the law. They are based on moving forward in a way that has integrity, and will represent the citizens of Fulton County very well.
She just issued a subpoena to the lieutenant governor. The subpoena didn't have a date on it. It's a range of dates toward the end of August. Does that tell us anything about the timing of possible public indictments here? Is it possible we could have public indictments, say, next week, even before the lieutenant governor testifies?
Well, I think anything is possible, but I find it interesting that she is subpoenaing witnesses to the grand jury. Every prosecutor always has the option of just presenting their investigators or presenting police officers. I think she wants to make sure that the grand jurors get a feel for what actually happened in the room at the Capitol, which is why she's subpoenaed several former state senators and members of the House. That also breaks up some of the presentation for the grand jurors, so they're not hearing the same person for hours. It also possibly anticipates grand jurors having questions. And so having these folks under subpoena where she can rely on them if the grand jurors have particular questions and call them in within a specified amount of time since they've had pre-notice. It demonstrates that she's trying to organize things and anticipate some of the needs that the grand jurors may have.
We pointed out on this program many months ago that in Georgia, the governor does not have the power to pardon. But the governor appoints, apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong, appoints the people who do have the power to pardon. How do pardons work in Georgia?
So in Georgia, that is absolutely right. The governor does not have the ability to pardon. It's a decision made by the Board of Pardons and Paroles. And while they're all appointed by governors, they work collaboratively to determine whether a pardon is appropriate. And one of or two of the key prerequisites.
That's interesting and yet telling at the same time. You know what I mean? I never really understood how the pardon process worked. But to hear that, boy, that sounds like that good old boy system, man, or something like that. So this is going to be very interesting.
Is that the person seeking the pardon has to have served their entire sentence, and they have to wait 5 years during which they live a model life before applying. And so this is not a situation where there might be a conviction and a pardon immediately following.
Oh, okay then. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Normally when you hear pardon, I don't hear the stipulations that come with the terms. I've never heard, what actually comes with that. So to hear her say, no, you still got to serve and you still got to do this and you got to meet these requirements, that's different. Now I'm not just thinking, okay, this person may get arrested, but then the governor's going to be like, don't worry, I got you. You're going to be pardoned. You'll be good to go. Just let them do what they need to do. I got you, blah, blah, blah. But now it's like, okay, no, you got to go through a certain process first.
Following that, they have to serve whatever sentence is issued by the judge, and then they have to wait an additional 5 years after having a law-abiding life before they could even be considered for a pardon by the board.
So to be clear, other than a successful appeal of the case, there is no process in Georgia that can set aside a sentence.
That is correct, other than an appeal.
Gwen Keys Fleming, thank you for teaching us as you always do. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Look forward to seeing what y'all have to say about all of this in the comment section, man. Let's talk.